What's up, everybody? This is Gabe Pesci with Elevated Vision. I've been anticipating on my pages that I'm going to be showing how to do a build for a long time, and before I even get into this, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not your typical build. If any experienced pilots are watching this right now, you are going to say, dude, what are you doing? A lot of these parts are spare parts that I've had. Some pilots may actually recognize these Gep RC motors from a Synolog 35 V2. If you're wondering where that drone is, please don't wonder. It's in a safe space. YouTube, please don't come after me for that. I'm joking. But on a serious note, this build is going to be a hefty 4S build. The point of this build is going to be using what you have around you. I try to keep this as mid-range to budget as humanly possible. At least when I bought some of these parts, they weren't as pricey as they may be now. For my parts, I have LEDs that I got off AliExpress. 533 didn't have a kit, so here we are. I have this budget-friendly kit that I got off, so we're gonna see how it works. For my VTX system, I have the brand new DJI O4 Lite. I heard the race mode on this is pretty good, and I wanted to see how it works, since this is going to be, like I said, like a mid-range to moderate hefty race build, like a freestyle racing build. This frame has been sitting for months, so I finally decided, you know, since this is out, I couldn't fit an O4. I have all digital stuff. I didn't really have the money to get HD0. I'm glad DJI made a different system for this, more budget friendly for smaller builds like this. I saw 533's video on using the O4 race mode, and I thought it was pretty cool. So we're actually going to throw this in and see how it works. For my VTX, I have the SpeedyBee F405. It's a pretty good AIO board. I have it in a lot of my real estate builds, like my little 2.5-inch Cinewhoop that I use for real estate shoots. It has it. It flies very well for a little budget. It's like $55 right now on AliExpress. You could probably get it for cheaper. So yeah, we're gonna see how this stack works and performs in this frame. For my straps, I have the Omagwad. I apologize if I butchered that. Omagwad straps. I have bigger ones here if these don't fit. Like I said, this is spare. I had these when I bought a Bot Grinderino 3.5-inch frame. These came with them, and I just didn't use them. I ended up using bigger straps. So yeah. For our propellers, excuse me, I have the Gemfan Hurricanes 3020 propellers, tri-blades. I went with a more efficient type prop because I didn't know how these were going to handle under the pressure and the weight. Since this is a big build, I didn't want to go with an aggressive pitch prop because it's going to bring the motor heat up pretty high and it could cause damage. Yeah, we're going to see. And if I like the 4S, then I'm actually going to take it to a track or a multi-GP chapter up by me, and we're going to see how it runs. I have DIY kits that I made, but without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, one more thing. I have this Flywoo X30 waterproof spray. I put on all my drones, you know, God forbid something happens. Even though it's just like, you know, the parts aren't that expensive, you still want to take care of your stuff. This stuff has saved me a lot of times, especially in rain, and I just love it in general. So let's get into it. So here we have our AIO board with a practice soldering board. If you're not comfortable with soldering, please don't use it on your actual electronics. I like SpeedyBee for this reason. They give you this practice board, which I wish I can get out right now, but they give you this practice board to try on. I would not recommend, if you don't know how to solder, don't build a drone yet. Just get a practice board like this. SpeedyBee does sell this on its own, so you don't have to buy this in order to get this. So I would highly recommend you get this. And there's some adapters here and USB plugs that you can solder. Yeah. And also, I know some of you, if you have already bought this frame, I do apologize. I didn't show assembling it. I wanted to make sure how everything fits and how everything looks when I assemble this frame. If you are having trouble assembling it, 533 does have a video. If I can find the link for it, I will put it in the description. But it's actually not as bad as you think. Once you do it, you'll be like, oh wow, this is actually pretty easy. So first things first, we're gonna try to get everything out of the box. That way we have everything set up and ready to go, and we will get to soldering. So this is actually my first O4 Lite. I don't have one. This is actually my first. So we're gonna see. I'm actually pretty excited because I was a little skeptical about a 1S capable VTX that DJI made, and I'm actually pretty excited to see how this is gonna work. Oh wow, that is very, very small. This is interesting. So it is very, very, very small, and it looks to me a little fragile. Wow, that's the adapter. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. It does indeed look cool. So let's see. I'm assuming there's some M2 hardware in here and the actual casing. Okay, so right off the bat, you can tell this is hot glued on. This is definitely a first, like I said. You can see the connections here. It's in there, so it's not designed to come out. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos of guys actually removing that. I'm not going to recommend it. You know, if it's on, it's on. They did it for a reason. Don't take it off unless you absolutely have to. So you can see right here that it fits beautifully in our canopy here. All right, so we're actually going to set this aside. This is the first thing we're going to actually install are our motors. You're going to put all four of your motors of choice, in this case these, to start out. That way you can get a feel and see how everything fits. So we're going to do that quick, and I will be right back. So once you have your motors installed, you should have something looking like this. Yeah, these are beefy. But once you have your motors on, and also just for a size comparison with this 3-inch frame, this is my daily driver 5-inch. You can tell right off the bat how small this is. I just wanted to show this. It's insane, and you can tell the difference. Like the O3 Air unit is like, you know, if you can see it, it's like back here, and you can just tell compared to that. Like this little board, it's so cute. Yeah, it's just insane. So next up, you're gonna want to install your VTX. For me, mine usually these little racer builds, they sit like this. Actually, you know what? I should bring this a little closer. Here, now that I just want to move you a little closer so you guys could see. This is gonna sit just like this. Actually, probably like this for the USB port. Oh, before I forget, I didn't forget about the LED system. And if you're wondering if I planned all this out, honestly, no, I didn't. None of this has been planned out. This is all kind of just being wrong right now. I'm just winging it. I know it sounds pretty bad, but ideally, guys, this isn't going to be your ideal racer build. So if you want to build it, I'm going to put all the parts in the description and just let you guys decide what you guys think at the end of all this. I'm not going to lie, this is going to be a little tight. So we got to figure out how I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm going to need shims because this seems to be hitting on this little metal spacer right here. So yeah, that's going to be a little something. I'm also noticing just now, I just seen these, the LED, I guess the arm guards here. I'm just a little nervous about these LED control modules, how they're going to work. So we're actually, when we cross that bridge, we will get there. So there are going to be changes that need to be made here, because I realized just now how much stuff I'm actually trying to put onto this drone. So I'm gonna say it a lot more in this video. This is not ideal, okay? I'm gonna call it the Beefcake. That's what this drone's name is gonna be, is Beefcake. I got like hefty TPU parts that I made I'm gonna put on this. So we're gonna modify this. So I'm thinking how I'm gonna do this is this little mounter here, I'm 3D printing right now little grommets, so this can sit on the bottom while this isn't exposed to the outside, so that it can sit off and it won't hit. But then you're wondering, Gabe, how does the battery mount? Well, this is where the bad idea comes into play. Like I said, this is not ideal. This is not a professional racer build. Okay, this is Beefcake. Okay, so let me mount this really quick, or actually, let me get these 3D printed grommets on, and we're gonna assemble this. Okay, and when those are done, I'll be right back. Okay. So after some testing and dry fitting off camera, I've decided how I'm going to mount this. And I also discovered that this canopy, just now, the holes are mounted differently, meaning it's not traditional from what I've seen. I honestly think I may have missed something when I opened this. The mounting holes are on the top and bottom here. So it's not like a traditional FPV drone where they're on the sides. So it's kind of like I have to figure out how I'm going to mount this. I might 3D print an adapter for this to be held, or it looks like there's little slits, so I'm assuming maybe I could screw it on just like this. But to move on, we're not going to wait any longer. I'm not going to do anything else. We're going to cut these wires to fit this, and we are going to solder them. I'm not going to solder every single one on camera. I'll just show you how to do one, and then after that I'm gonna take a break, or I'm gonna just solder, take a break, and then come back to when it's all finished. So first thing you want to do is you want to tin these pads. Actually, let me move you a little closer. I moved you a little closer so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see these 3 pads right here. What we're gonna do, and I'll move the light closer. Yeah. So what we're gonna do, maybe I could change the light so it's a little easier here on the GoPro. Oh, I didn't even know this had this. Natural light will be work. All right. Just gonna tin these. If you have it, flux. Flux is your best friend when it comes to soldering. It helps to solder here better, and it makes things a lot easier. And the best part about it is it just spilled everywhere. Okay, so after extensive cleaning and mopping of my area after that, hopefully you will understand you will understand to twist the cap, not pull it. So that is that's a flux pen. You would originally, I'm going to be using out of a syringe. No, this is not something else, I promise. You know, maybe for electrical engineers it is, but no, I'm kidding. Anyway, how you're going to apply this, in this case, instead with a flux pen, you would just go like this and rub it on. This case, you're just going to add a little dabs, like so. Very easy. First, we're just going to put solder on the pads, or tinning, as I mentioned before. But this is good prep work. You don't have to use flux, but is it recommended? Yeah, it's highly recommended. If you want a successful solder joint, yeah, I would use flux. Now, what we're going to do is I would like to cut these to length. And, you know, when you do an FPV build, is it necessary to cut them all the way down to perfect? You don't have to, but it just makes your builds look cleaner and keeps everything organized and tidy, and it could possibly protect your wires and crash. So you just kind of, how I do it is I line it up just like so up to the pad, and I leave a little slack. You know, God forbid a motor gets ripped off or something, it's not super tight, there's no any sort of mechanical stress. So we just go like so. I like the wire like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut where my finger's at. Yeah, and then just enough where I can have a little room to work with. God forbid I do mess this up. Okay. So I could cut that a little shorter if I really wanted to. Let's see. Alright, so Also, try not to do what I'm doing. Solder away from the electronics, because sometimes solder likes to splatter, and it can get really messy. But solder adheres like so. I don't know if the camera can pick it up. Here's onto here. And we're actually now, I'm going to tin this pad and show you what I'm talking about. So first of all, you want a clean soldering iron. Okay, nice and clean. Oop, yeah, see, don't do that, what I just did. The soldering iron just hit the canopy here, which, you know, it's probably going to get a lot more messed up, so I'm not surprised. But don't do what I just did. So here, just going to put the soldering iron on the pad, and you're just going to let the solder adhere. It may take a sec, but you'll see it'll flow right on. Alright, there we go, got some solder, a little more. Alright, so it's good enough. So first pad has solder on it. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the wire that we have prepped, and we're gonna go like this, put the wire against it, and be very careful when doing this because you don't want to burn your hand. These soldering irons, I have mine set to 761. Solder usually melts at 650, so but trying to get this done a little quicker. Boom. If you want to clean up the joint, that's a little messy. Yeah, there we go. A lot better. Alright, it's gonna look something like that. Okay, it's gonna be adhere to the pad there. It's gonna be a little nice and tidy. So I'm gonna do the other motors here, and I'll get right back to you guys. Okay, so I have done a little bit more than I should have off camera. I wired all the motors. I cut these to spec, the LEDs, fitted everything. I even soldered the receiver on, which I wish I kind of did on camera. So to explain, just really quick, why I want to explain the receiver is some people may not know, okay, well, where should I solder my receiver, because there are on the wiring diagram sometimes you may see it's T3 or it's T5, but sometimes you may not have a T3 or T5 available. And what the T3s and R3s they mean is transmission and receiving. So what's important about that is the receiver needs those two pads, obviously, because it needs to send information into the drone. The drone needs to give an output back of what it's doing. That way you know everything's working correctly, or you need to make a change to something. It shows everything that you're doing. So in my case, I used R3 and T3. Now, yes, you shouldn't do T3 and R4. It doesn't make sense. You have to use it. They're called UARTs. So you have to use the same UART. Now, something to keep in mind is there is on the receiver TX and RX, and on here, obviously, I use T3 and R3. Make sure they are opposite. So when you're soldering, you want to solder R3 to T3, and then T3 on the flight controller to R3. So once again, R on here goes to T on here. T on here goes to R on here goes to T, R, T. Okay, they have to be inversely opposite, mainly because if you have if they're soldered to the same pads, like alike, then you're not going to get any information, and honestly it's not going to work at all. But more on that. We are now going to do what's called a smoke check. So essentially we're going to make sure all my soldering joints are good and everything's perfect, and if not, then I have to go back over it and check all my joints and see if I bridged or I shorted anything. So let's go ahead and see. Okay, everything seems to be good. I didn't solder the LED kit yet, so yeah, everything works as it should. So I'm gonna solder this quick and I will be right back. Alright, so I have wired up the LED. I put some electrical tape on the bottom to separate the both the electronics and the LED system. So now we are going to see if this works or not. Let's see. Oh god. Yeah. Okay. Curious as to why this didn't turn on, but I'm assuming it has to do with something in beta flight. So yeah. Okay. We're all set. Now we just gotta strap everything down and do some beta flight tuning. I don't think I'm gonna do beta flight tuning in this video, as this was kind of like an in-depth build. Very, very hefty modifications, but we'll see.